Okay. Yeah. So today, as discussed yesterday, we'll be covering the other three topics of the research aptitude, that is sampling, steps of research, and thesis and article writing. So today we'll start with the first topic, that is sampling. Okay. So sampling or the sample size, to just say it in one word, I can say sample is a small part of any big population. So when I, as a researcher, would like to conduct any research, what I will do is I will take a small sample of a very big part, okay, of a population. For example, if I want to know how is the taste of a let's say dal that I have made. So what I will do is I will just taste one spoon of dal and I will understand how is that whole dal. So that is called as taking a sample from a big population. So in a official language, a sample in statistics is a process of selecting a subset of individuals from a statistical population to estimate the characteristics of the whole population. Mostly, statisticians try to collect samples that are the representative of the population, and this sampling is actually divided into two types that we call as probability sampling and non-probability sampling. Now, as the name suggests, probability sampling, so that in a probability sampling, whenever I select a sample for my research, any person or any population of that sample has an equal chance of getting selected. So it involves random selection. In a probability sampling, I do not have a sorry, I do not have a fixed pattern for selecting somebody in an overview that I'm telling, but in their types, we will definitely have certain patterns. Okay, but it's a random selection. Anybody can be selected. The best part of a probability sampling is that every person in the population get an equal chance to be selected. So there is 100% chance that any one of them can be selected. There is no non-zero chance of being selected, which allows to generalize us and give valid conclusion. The major thing is that probability sampling is mostly used in quantitative research. When we are doing research with numbers and data, so we always use probability sampling. This is something that you will have to remember. For example, probability sampling, like while playing cards, how do we shuffle our cards? So that is probability sampling. So if I want to pick any one card out of the pack of 52 cards, okay, so every card has an equal chance of being selected. That is called as probability sampling. Now, a non-probability sampling involves non-random selection. So we are doing a selection, but not having a random pattern or a fixed pattern. Anybody can be selected, okay? And it is based on the convenience for the researcher. So if for the researcher, the sample or the sample population is convenient, and however he finds or she finds it easy, in that way we take the sample, okay? Or if there is some certain specific criteria, so accordingly, and this is very easier doing a non-probability sampling, because we are not fixed to any fixed pattern or any fixed rule or regulation, okay? And it is cheaper also, but it limits the research finding when I take a non-probability sampling. And non-probability sampling is mostly used for a qualitative data. And the main reason for you about talking about non-probability using qualitative data, we will see in the more defined definition, where we will understand that in non-probability samplings are used for qualitative data because we have no other option rather than choosing non-probability sampling. So we are forced to choose that. So now, when we talk about sampling, these are the two types of sampling. The probability has four classification. Even the non-probability has four classification. Right now, here they have given only three in this picture, but they have four classification. You can take a screenshot of it. It will make it a little easy for you. So when I talk about probability sampling, it is divided into four parts, and I've already explained you what is probability sampling. Now, the first one is simple random sampling. Now, what is done in this simple random sampling? Now, the example of a card shuffle fits here. Okay, so everybody in that population has an equal chance of being selected. For example, similar to a lottery, and this simple random sampling is done on a homogeneous population. So for example, there are 50 students in my class. Okay, I have to select any 10 students for dance. Okay, so I'm selecting any 10 student. Okay, so out of those 50, all of them have an equal chance of being selected. So it's a homogeneous population. I want to select it only from fifth standard. So like that way we will go. And in a systematic sampling, or we also call it as a systematic random sampling. Sometimes it is given in your papers as systematic sampling or systematic random sampling. What it is done in this category, that here also the probability of everybody getting selected is equal, but we fix an interval and we select a person after a specific interval. Okay, so individuals are chosen at a regular interval in a list. For example, I have a list of 100 people, so I'm selecting that every 10th person in this list will be a part of my sample. In this way, I'm taking the 10th to people out of 100 as a sample. So we also say it as the selecting every nth unit, that is the nth number, whatever n number it will be, any number that I select. Now, other two types of sampling that we have, that is stratified and cluster sampling. These two type of sampling are done on a heterogeneous population. Okay, the population here is not same. That is why we use stratified and cluster sampling. So, if in a question comes, you will be able to easily understand these are the keywords to identify. So what is a stratified sampling? It is basically a population that is divided into a subgroup, and that subgroup we call as strata. Okay, and this strata is self-created. Okay, sorry. There is no, I will say, strata that has been created and given to you. It is we that who, a researcher who is creating that strata, because he or she wants to do certain kind of research in which he or she might require certain strata or people to be tested in certain groups. Okay, so it is the people who will be part of how we will do a stratified sampling. It will be divided on special characteristics, special traits that will be common in them. Okay, special qualities, and a random sample is drawn from each group. So for example, I have a group and I divide that group on the basis of male and female. And then in a class, I want to take students for dance. Now I have divided this class as a group into two parts, that is male and female. Okay, on the basis of gender. Now from the male group I select 5 students, and from the female group I select 5 students, so that I have equal people. Okay, equal 5 students from male and 5 students from female in my sampling that I want to take. Otherwise, I can divide them on the basis of gender, race, religion, because I want to test something and I want that every strata that is there should have equal representation. That is probabilities sampling. When I talk about stratified sampling, and the data, sorry, stratas are created by the researcher itself. Then comes the cluster sampling. Sorry. So when we talk about the cluster sampling, the population is divided into clusters. Now it is almost similar to stratified sampling, but the difference is the strata is created by the researcher, but the cluster is not created by the researcher. The clusters are already available, and now the researcher is thinking to take samples from 5 to 6 different clusters and then do his or her research and select sample likewise. So the population is already divided into a cluster, and a random sample of these clusters are selected. All individuals which are there within the selected clusters are then studied in a heterogeneous population. For example, I want to conduct some research and see, already cities are already divided. So I take sample five, sample from Mumbai, city 5 from Delhi, from 5 from Bangalore, and so on and so forth. So I am not dividing. The people are already divided on this in these cities which are a cluster. So I'm giving. I want to do a study of use of let's say urban infrastructure. Okay, in different cities and technologies. So I am taking in different urban areas or climate change impact on urban people. So I already have a cluster of Delhi, Mumbai, Pune, Kolkata, Hyderabad, and so on so forth. So the school branches or a bank branch. So clusters are already divided. Now I'm making sure that I'm taking 5 samples from Delhi, 5 from Pune, Hyderabad, and so on so forth. Sorry. To understand it, this image will help you to understand it. In a simple random method, everybody has a chance to be get selected. Anybody can be selected. See the blue one or the green one. Okay, so anybody can be selected. In a systematic sampling, if you see every second or the third person is getting selected. So after leaving 2%, the next person has been selected. After leaving 2%, the another third person has been selected. That is systematic. Okay. Stratified, two groups are there. In this group also I'm taking 3 people. From this group also I'm taking 3 people. Let's say from male I'm taking 3 and from female also I'm taking 3. Now here 3 clusters are already there. Okay, and then from those clusters I am taking samples. That is called as cluster sampling. This image is also there, which will help you to understand very properly with regards to the 4 different type of sampling. So there's a lot of theories written in book, but this is easy for you to understand the different types of sampling. Once you're done with the screenshot, just let me know, then I will move ahead. Okay. Now we will go to the another topic, that is non-probability sampling. So non-probability sampling is a method of selecting units from a population using a subjective way. Okay, that is at the ease of the researcher, non-random method. It's fast, inexpensive way of obtaining data in a qualitative research. The main types that we have in non-probability sampling are convenience, quota, purposive, snowball, and self-selection. Now, as I told you right now, also a few couple of minutes back, that in a non-probability sampling, the either population is too large or too accessible. Sorry, too large or not accessible. That is the reason that we are taking a non-probability sampling. Sorry. So here are certain types of non-probability sampling. One thing that is very important, that we should also remember the alternate names of this uh, sampling, because in exam they ask you like that way. Okay. So one you have is convenience sampling. It is also called as accidental or hazard samples, because convenience sampling it is called because the researcher find it at a very convenient place. So what whosoever is there in my nearby area, I will take them as a sample, or accidentally or in a hazard manner, anywhere if I found, I take those people as a sample. So basically they are chosen on the basis of their ease, availability, and accessibility. That is the primary purpose. It's quick and inexpensive, because anybody who is nearby you, you can take them as a sample and start doing a study. But yes, it has a very high chance of being biased, because it doesn't represent the entire population. Now anybody who is there in my locality, I'm taking them. So I have children, I have young people, I have old people, and it is having a mix of the population. It is not focusing on just one population. So that is why it is in a research, it is not considered as a very great method of taking as a sample. Okay. um, Next, we have the quota sampling. It is also called as dimensional sampling. The populations are divided into some subgroups, and participants are selected from each subgroup, okay, to meet a predetermined quota. So, for example, a researcher want to do certain test, impact of marriage on a male's life, okay. So now he will divide and make 2 quotas, okay, that is the married man quota and an unmarried man quota. And in this way he will select people on a random basis. Now after making a quota, he does not has any proper method of selecting. He will select anybody from that quota. That is called as quota sampling. Okay, it ensures that the key characteristics of the specific traits that the quota has been made for, that has been completely achieved, and then the selection has been based on that particular thing. The third is purposive or judgmental sampling. The researcher use their own judgment to select participants, okay, who are most likely to be knowledgeable or relevant to the study. If useful, It is useful for specific targeted research, but it is subjective. Let's say I am a teacher, okay, and now I am a professor, and now I am doing a study on certain students' behavior, okay, intelligent students' behavior, and what is their behavior, intelligent student, what kind of behavior that they are possessing, what are the qualities that they have. Now, here I am purposely taking the best students that I know, in my opinion, okay. So there might be other students also who are intelligent, but I'm not taking those students in my sample because I don't find they are intelligent, they are good, but I don't find them good. Okay, so I'm using my judgment, or there is certain purpose. So uh, using my own judgment and selecting certain people as a sample, or otherwise I can say I have a purpose of doing a research only on intelligent students. So I'm not taking average and near to intelligent students. I'm leaving them out. So that is called as non-probability sampling, where uh, again the researcher uses sampling, takes a sample at their ease. Then you have snowball or network sampling. The very simple way to remember is this. You might have always, in your movies or cartoons, you might have seen how a snowball has been made. First, initially, it is a very small snow. Okay. The moment it gets rolled down from top of the mountain to the down of the mountain, that small snow gets accumulated and a big ball, it gets turned into a big ball, and that is called as snowball. So it is told that in this research, in this type of sampling, when we ask, let's say we take somebody as a sample, and that person give us another people as a sample in their reference, in their acquaintance. Okay, so it is that is why called as network sampling or the snowball sampling. We get sample from the people to whom we are already interviewing, and like that way it goes further. So existing participants refer new participants who meet the study criteria. The method is effective for reaching population that are hard to locate, but it can also lead to bias samples because people will purposely give their friends and all those as sample. Okay, so we do not actually have access to those people as a sample. Like somebody, let's say, assume has a naturally pink hair. Okay, so I may not be easily able to find it, but somebody who has, so I will ask those people ki in your group, in your community, do you have more such people? Okay, in your relation, you might have you might be following some pages, you know some people. So give me some references. So I will study those people. Or let's say somebody having brown eyes or blue eyes, then I'm asking those people, do you have somebody like that way? Or This is mostly used by police officers also, like somebody who is in your books, it is written as drug addicts and everything. So somebody who is a drug addict or like that way. So the if you have seen ever, the police officers take a lead from those drug addict, and then they go to the another person who might be in the same area. So a police officer may not be able to find such people, but internally their community know each other. That is called as snowball or network. Sorry, network sampling. Last one is self-selection or volunteer sampling. The participant themselves choose to participate in the study, such as responding to an advertisement. Sometimes nowadays, I think on Instagram and Google and YouTube also, you come across some surveys and all those things. So you yourself give your consent to be part of it. It is easy to conduct, but may result in a biased sample because participants who volunteer may have different motivation than the general population motivation on whom I actually decided to conduct a population. So, for example, me being a researcher, I decide to conduct a population on, survey or to sample somebody who has a common trait. But now, those who are willingly participating and giving their name in this sampling, they do not have the same motive that I might have. So, it is one of the most biased form of sampling. There's an image. Okay. So don't look at other images. I wanted you to just see the snowball sampling. So how a small snow goes and then becomes a new, sorry. one person giving reference to another person, and this is purposive or judgmental where I select somebody. Okay. Another simple way of understanding this is also, see, this convenient sampling. This is a researcher, and everybody who is in the nearby network is their is his or her sample. Purposive sampling, depending upon my purpose. Okay, I'm selecting people or on the basis of certain judgment. Snowball, I have done taken somebody as a sample. Now this person is giving me other reference. Okay, likewise. And then quota sampling, I have divided, got certain quotas, and in that, from this quota I've selected this 2 person, and from this quota I've selected this 1 person, and like that way we are doing sampling. Please take a screenshot of the same. Okay, now there are certain questions. This is from 2023. Among the following types of sampling techniques, which one is also known as judgmental sampling? Yes, it is purposive sampling. I just lost my network. Is my okay? The next question that we have, in which of the following sampling methods the sample is also known as accidental sample and a haphazard sample? Is it purposive, quota sampling, stratified random sampling, or convenience sampling? Yes, perfect. It is convenience sampling. This is from 2024. Suppose a researcher created a list of the names of everybody in a population of interest and selected every 10th name in order to get a list of participants, comprising the sample. This type of sampling is called quota sampling, systematic, simple random, or convenience sampling. Perfect. It is systematic sampling where we have a proper system of selecting the every 10th person in the sample, sorry, from the population. This is from 2025. No, sorry, 24. Identify the probability sampling technique. Okay. Is it simple random, snowball, stratified random, or convenience? Correct, Arpita. Okay, correct. Yes, correct. It's ANC, that is simple random sampling, and stratified random sampling. Both of them are part of probability sampling, whereas snowball and convenience sampling are part of non-probability sampling. One more question. Identify the correct reasons for writing a literature. Okay, no, not this one right now. Okay, this one. Identify the sampling issues that are probably problematic in online surveys. So if I take an online survey, what will be the issues while taking the sample? Okay, many people use more than one internet service provider. Every person has only one unique email address. The household may have one computer but several users. Internet users are a biased sample of the population. Perfect. So see, we study sampling in a particular manner, but then it can be included with certain methods, and then they might ask you. But the questions are very simple to understand, provided that our basic understanding is clear. The answer is correct. It is four. That is A, C, and D. So the sampling issue that will be problematic in online surveys, more than one internet service provider having more than one computer but several users, and internet users are biased sample of our population for sure. Okay. Then moving forward, this is also one simple question because we are not uh, did about what is questionnaire, but a simple question that just came up, so I just wanted you to answer that what is a questionnaire? We all have at least conducted once a Google form or a survey. So is it a data analysis instrument, collection instrument, comparing instrument, or analysis and result finding? Perfect. So yes, it is a data collection instrument. One more question on sampling. For the selection of samples in research, the snowball sampling method employs whom? The field workers, the opinion leaders, the surveyors, or the reference. Yes, perfect. And the answer is four. Okay. Now going to the another topic that is uh, steps of writing a research. Now, see, in many books and many websites or many any other videos or anywhere you see, there will be many steps which will be overlapping each other. Somewhere you will find 10 steps, somewhere you will find 8 steps, somewhere you will find 7 steps. But more or less, it doesn't matter if they have made the same 8 steps to 10 steps or that into 7 steps. There is a certain process that we will have to remember. And the process, they might club or they might write it separately, but the step will always remain the same. So, the first step ever in a research is first I will have to identify a problem. Okay, before conducting any research, my first step is always identifying a problem in the whatever topic I want to do. Until I don't have a problem, I will not go and search about it and I will not come with a solution. So, first is a formulation of a research problem, or there are certain synonyms for the same step. You can, if you're writing and noting it down, you can write it down. The other synonyms for a research problem also, sometimes it is been called as the research question. Sometimes it is either identifying the problem. Sometimes it is called as establish the problem. Sometimes it is also called as define the problem. So if I say identify problem, define problem, establish the problem, or a research question, anything that comes in a question paper, all of them means the first step, that is having a problem, having a question before going to any other step. So in a research, the first step is always having a problem, and then the whole process starts. Then in many books and many websites, you will find the second step written as literature review. In this example, the image that you are able to see, here they have clubbed research review under step one itself. Doesn't matter, but most of the books or the I will say classifications tell step two as literature review. Here you can see, okay, these are also certain steps that I have written. So identify the problem also means finding a problem or the research problem. The second is evaluate the literature or review of the literature. It means the same. So once you have identified a problem, you will go and you will find what is the data available on that particular problem. So you will do any kind of review. So for example, if you have identified a problem, let's say about social media use, okay, uh, changing behavior to today's young generation kids because of internet. Okay, so that is a problem. Then you will go and find certain literature that is available on. There are many official websites like Shodh Ganga or Inflibinet, or you will go to libraries and you will find out data that anybody has ever conducted any research on how technology or how digital things are changing our behavior. Okay, so I will do the review of that literature. After doing the review of that literature, I will collect a lot of data, either from primary, secondary resources, whatever it is. I will analyze, evaluate all those data. And then the third step is there of formulating a hypothesis. Okay. Again, formulating a hypothesis in this particular most, because this is from KVS book, and most of students refer this book, so it is I have purposely taken this image. But the third step is formulation of hypothesis. Okay, now hypothesis is basically a tentative statement where I try to show a relationship. We will be discussing about that in detail. But hypothesis, you understand, it's a tentative statement. Okay, so here you can see the third step that is there to create hypothesis. That will be your third step. Your fourth step will be choose a research design. Okay. It is also called as choose a research setting, also called as research, choose a research method, or it is also called as the blueprint. Okay. Research design is also called as the blueprint because research design is everything. It decides how you will be conducting a research. A research design has lot many things in detail. So it's a design in which you will fit your whole research paper. So it is also called as the blueprint, okay, or the framework also. So you can write these alternative names like the research design, setting, method, blueprint, or the framework. All of them means the same. Here they have given it as a step two, okay, under which what we do under a research design, we have a problem structure, we have a study design, then we will select which method we are going to take to basically do a research. Okay, experimental, non-experimental, survey, questionnaire, what are we going to do? All those things are there in detail. Then your fifth step will be collect or process data. Here they have given us the third step, that is developing data. So developing data or collecting data, what will be the my type of data, from where I will collect, what will be the methods of data collection, will I take case study method, questionnaire, or whichever method, what design I am taking, all those things. So either I tell it as collect data or I tell it as process data. Okay. Now here they have given it up and down. They have first given is describe population sampling and then data collection. Even that is okay because I will collect data only after knowing my population. Okay. I will go for which method of data collection after knowing ki who is my population. If my population or my sample is old age group people, okay, I'm doing a survey on people, let's say 60, 70 years. I cannot give them Google form. Okay, so my data collection method will only change. So first I will should know the population or the sample. Okay, so then I will go and collect data on the basis of that population or sample. Your next step will be data analysis. Okay, that is step 7. It is here written. Um if I skip the population or sampling, it will be data, step 6 also. So once data collection method, I have decided, okay, that I will be taking Google form or questionnaire, or I will be personally going and conducting surveys. Then how will be I analyzing my data? Okay. Um, what are the tools that I will be using for data collection? How I will be uh, using which softwares and all those things that are there. Okay. Here they have see after developing data given selecting samples, what will be the type of samples, and then they have directly moved to writing a research proposal. Okay. But in a research, we most of the time in most of the books they have skipped this part of research proposal. Even in question paper, they never ask you about this step of writing a research proposal. So the here you can see the collecting method, that is observation, interviews, questionnaire, schedules, and then processing and analyzing data is been clubbed here together. Okay, that is editing, coding, classification, tabulation, analysis, and so on so forth. So data is to be collected. Okay, it involves interpreting those data. Now the next step is hypothesis testing. Some people put it under this processing of data itself, and some people keep it separately, that is hypothesis testing. It's a very very important topic about hypothesis testing, which will be our next topic. Out of this whole of steps in research, two steps are very important, sorry, three steps, that is um, sampling, which we did just now. Another is hypothesis and what is hypothesis types and testing. And the last one is report writing, which is thesis and article writing that we will be doing. Okay. So hypothesis testing is very important. It's a method through which we test our hypothesis is right, wrong, or whatever it is. Then once hypothesis is tested and everything has been done, data collected, analyzed, everything. Now I've collected data, analyzed data, everything I've done. So now what I have to do is give a summary, a generalization, because as we studied in the objectives of our research, that generalization is very important. Then I will give some generalization, whatever is the outcome of my report. So this generalization and interpretation is also called as the outcome of the report, or the results, or the finding, or the report writing, the report, just the report, all those things. And the last step is report writing. Once everything, generalization and everything has came, I am giving a report. Okay, whatever generalization has came, whatever findings have been came, that I'm giving in a report. Now here you can see a hypothesis testing and then generalization is clubbed together. And the last is writing a research report, that is basically thesis article writing. How do you write a report? Now we have done everything, but report writing is again a systematic process. Okay, so that whole process has been done over here. So these are certain steps. Now we will step by step. We have already classified sampling as a step of it. Now we are going to another step of it, that is hypothesis. So far, clear to everybody everything. Then I will move forward. Okay. Okay, so the next topic is hypothesis. Now, hypothesis in a scientific research is a statement proposing a potential explanation or a prediction or a particular phenomena. To be more precise, hypothesis is something that is trying to make some kind of relationship between two objects. Okay, between two things, it is trying to make a certain relationship, and that is what we call as hypothesis. uh, let's say there can be anything as a hypothesis. I'm trying to make a relationship between a height and a size of the shoes, or I'm trying to make a relation between drinking tea and the sleep. Okay, so any kind of relationship between two things is called as hypothesis. Now, researchers have one or more than hypotheses in their research whenever they are doing, and mostly hypotheses are two. There are two type of hypotheses. Almost every research has. That is why we test the hypothesis, because we want one to be right and another to be wrong. So that is called as testing of hypothesis. So these are the questions that they want to address. Hypothesis is basically a statement that I want to address. It can be, I can do my research and I will be might be able to prove my hypothesis. I might not even prove my hypothesis. Even that is possible. In both the cases, even if I'm not able to prove my hypothesis, at least it is telling me that the whatever relationship I was trying to establish is not possible. So that is also generating a knowledge in one or the other case, that is telling that this relationship cannot be established in that case. So these are the questions that the researcher want to address, which includes predictions, the possible relationship between the things that they want to investigate. We call it as variable. So as a researcher, we do not know the exact truth, but have a hunch about the outcomes, and thus we make some prediction about the outcome. This hunch or prediction of the outcome is called as hypothesis, also termed as an educated guess. See, sometimes they ask you this thing, or assumption about some phenomena. This assumption is tested by collecting information that will enable us to conclude if our hunch was right. So there is also a possibility that our hypothesis might go wrong at the end of the research. Thus, defining hypothesis as the following feature. First, a tentative statement has been made, and hypothesis will be hardly a couple of lines, not more than that. Then validity of hypothesis is unknown, whether it will be right or wrong. In most cases, formulating a hypothesis specifies a logical relationship between two variables. Let's say if a height increase, so the size of the shoes also increase. So there is a logical relationship between them, and that is why when we want to prove it, it gets proved at the end of our research. So most of the time, actually, what we want to prove, we make hypothesis in such manner. So next is, it must be generalized and it should be very simple. As I told you, it should be a couple of lines. It should not be very big. Then there are two types of hypothesis. Okay, that is null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. A lot of question is asked from null and alternate hypothesis always in your examination. So Professor R.A. Fisher was the first one to use an experiment for testing hypothesis by a scientific investigation. He talked about the principle of replication, randomization, and local control in research. Hypothesis testing or a significance testing is a method for testing a claim or a hypothesis about a parameter in a population using data measured in a sample. We know that the population we know that data about population are called as population parameter, and about sample are called as sample statistic. We also assume sample mean an unbiased estimator of the population themselves. Now, what is a null hypothesis? Null hypothesis is always represented as HO. Okay, so the capital H and a small o. This hypothesis, as you can see, HO, that means it has to go be whenever we do a testing of a hypothesis. Sorry, it is always this null hypothesis that is tested. Alternate hypothesis is never ever tested. It is always the null hypothesis that is tested. And as a symbol says H0, that means it is trying to tell that this is null. This is not making any logic. It has to be wrong. It's an assumption. Okay, sometimes it is also right also, but most of the time, since I want to prove my hypothesis that height increasing height has increase in the size of the shoes. Okay, so I will make a null hypothesis that increasing height has no effect on the size of the shoes. That is my null hypothesis. I will test this hypothesis, and obviously this hypothesis will get proved wrong, because we know as height increases, the size of our shoes also will increase. So my null hypothesis will get wrong, and then my alternate hypothesis will be correct, and I will be able to conduct my research on the basis of alternate hypothesis. This is a way how research has been done. So it's a statement about a population parameter which, as a population mean, that is assumed to be true. The null hypothesis is a starting point. Okay, and we will test whether the value stated in null hypothesis is likely to be true. Null means no difference between the variables, such as between population mean and sample mean, or between two samples mean, and so on. We use the word no or no difference with every null hypothesis. always so as to develop a platform to be tested through samples. So as I told you, making a null hypothesis that drinking tea or coffee has no relation with your sleep. Okay, so that is a null hypothesis. So here they have given some example. Uh, so the question is, are teens better at maths than adults? So null hypothesis will be opposite, that age has no effect on mental ability. But we all know that age definitely has an impact on mental ability. But yes, now see in this case, I can also prove this null hypothesis wrong, where I have certain exceptional young students, okay, who are very good at mathematics, and there are some learned experts who still are not very good at mathematics. So in certain cases, null hypothesis get when tested. We want it to be wrong, but it gets right also. Okay. So another question is, does taking aspirin every day reduce the chance of having heart attack? So null hypothesis is that it does not affect heart attack at all. Okay. The third, you can see example, that is, do teens use cell phones to access the internet more than adults? So null hypothesis will be age has no effect, no cell phones being used for internet access. Now, moving forward, alternate hypothesis is written as HA or H1, and this is also called as research hypothesis because I will prove this hypothesis as wrong, null and void, and I want this hypothesis to be my actual hypothesis, which I am able to prove at the end of my research. That is why it is also called as research hypothesis. So if a null hypothesis is rejected and it goes in a rejection region, okay, so alternate hypothesis is automatically accepted. It is actually completely opposite or contradictory of null hypothesis, okay, and it will show a kind of a relationship between any two things. After setting hypothesis, we collect data with the sample or with the help of samples. We apply different statistical tests and on the sample data to arrive at some findings, and those findings are finally interpreted. This is just an image of the same for your reference. Please take a screenshot. Okay. This is also the same thing that I have discussed so far. Okay. So null is a statement about a population parameter, and alternative is a statement that directly contradicts the null hypothesis. So we can test the likelihood of null hypothesis, a statement being true, in order to decide whether to accept or reject an alternative hypothesis. And in alternative, we determine whether or not to accept or reject the statement based on the likelihood of the null, that is opposite hypothesis, to be being true. Now, null hypothesis can conclude this signs, and the alternative hypothesis conclude this sign. So far they have never asked about the signs, but still, for your reference, take a screenshot, then we'll move ahead. Okay. Now, again, a small explanation. Take the screenshot of this also. That alternative is always affirmative, null is always negative. Okay. Alternative have some relation, null does not have any kind of relation. Alternative implies that outcome will be observed if condition is met, and null says that the outcome will not be observed if the condition is not met. Now I will give you an example of this hypothesis. See, in alternative hypothesis, they are saying application of biofilter, any biofilter, that is X, increases plant growth. Okay, which is actually we all know that is true. And in null hypothesis, application of biofilter X does not increase the plant growth, but we can see it is still happening. Okay, so that is some example of hypothesis. Now, certain questions based on same. Your statement one says review of literature helps the researcher with the interpretation of his or finding. The second statement says that review of literature is not of any help in learning different theoretical and methodological approach to your research area. See, I just gave you a brief about review of literature, small brief, and questions are very simple based on review of literature. So, does going through other research paper on your same topic is helpful as per statement one, or as per statement two, it does not helps you at all? Perfect. If yes, statement one is correct, it is helpful, and statement two is not correct, it is not helpful at all. Then arrange the following steps pertaining to quantitative research in a correct order. Okay, quantitative, qualitative, whatever they say, the step of research will remain the same. Now you have to arrange the same. Why everyone has given answer as 4? Research design is never made first. Out of the things that are available here, options that are given, research design is never made first. Do you want me to take back to the steps of research? Analyze the steps of research and then give the answer. Analyze the steps of research. Observe it for a minute, then I will go for your question. Okay. Now give me the answer. What will be the correct answer? Yes. Yes. The correct answer will be 2. Okay. That is the first step is hypothesis. Till the time I have not made any tentative statement, anything that I want to test, how can I go to the research design without knowing? See, first is identifying or finding a question. Okay, problem that is there. क्वेश्चन बनाने के बाद I will make some statement na, oh, this will be the possibility, this can, it will be solved, and only if I make certain possibility I will go to the next step that is called as making a research design. And then I go to, after making research design, options available here, I will process data. I will take all those data, and then when data has been processed in a certain manner, then after processed data, the processed data I will analyze, and after analyzing that data I will give my findings. Okay, so that is the correct answer. That is true. Then one more question. This is also on arranging the steps. See, they love asking question on arranging the steps of the research. Okay. Uh, this question is from 2024 and 25. So almost every time they have repeatedly asked this question. Arrange the following steps involved in a research process in a correct order. Okay, so there is a lot of confusion between 2 and 4. So, yeah, the first step is identifying the research problem. Then, between 2 and 4, identifying the research problem. So once I have a problem, I will directly go and collect the data, or I will first see that what are the like, has anybody faced such kind of problem? If yes, so what was their solution? What they have done? This, that, or I will directly go to collect the data. Let us try to make some logic. Okay. So after identifying the problem, first I will review other literatures. Has anybody also faced some kind of problem or all those things? So my second step will be reviewing the literature, and then after literature review has been done, I will collect the data, and after collecting, I will analyze, and finally, I will write the research outcome. So only one mistake that all of you made, some of you, sorry, that is collecting the data. I cannot go now. I have a problem and I go collect data. So first I have to find what are the sources available. Has somebody done that? Maybe I might look in the review of literature and I find out that somebody has completed the whole study. So then what is the purpose of collecting data जब किसी ने already किया है? So that is why review of literature plays a very, very important role uh, in our research, because it helps us and saves our time. If somebody has already conducted a study on it or is in the process of conducting, I will not conduct that study. So the correct answer is 4. Now we will take a break for 5 minutes. We will come back at 7:06, and then we will go with the further remaining part of the topic. Okay, so let us start. One more question on sampling. So you can see how many questions have been asked on sampling and hypothesis, two most important part of the research. This question talks identify the sources of hypothesis formulation. How do we formulate a hypothesis? First is sampling method used for research, reports of earlier research, beliefs prevailing in the area of selected problem, prior experience of a researcher in the area of selected problem, the type of population. Now, this question is something where we can use our little common sense also. Like if we want to ourselves want to conduct a research, so how do we formulate our hypothesis? Yes, others please answer. Yeah, correct. So yes, the correct answer is the first one, that is BCD. So sampling method has nothing to do with the formulation of hypothesis. Okay, how do I select a sample will be, but sampling method will has nothing to do with my hypothesis. Earlier research reports, that is literature review, the belief that I have, okay, in my prior experience, and the belief prevailing in that area of the problem are certain things that helps to formulate a hypothesis. Let's say a climate change. So when I talk about climate change, so earlier reports that are written, okay, by some people on climate change, that will the lacuna. So when we talk about the last step, that is the findings of the research. In their findings, every researcher has to write also this one thing, that is what is the gap, because we all know that nothing is complete in this world. So any research that I will conduct, there will be a gap, there will be a scope for further study. Every researcher has to write what is the further scope that is there on his or her research paper that can be done. So that gap we identify. Okay, so reports from earlier research help us to know the gap, and then it helps us to form a hypothesis. Beliefs in that area, let's say climate change. So I have a belief, the more if we plant trees, we will be able to control the climate change. Believe in that area that almost I think everyone has, or minimizing the use of technology and all those things. The third is prior experience of a researcher in the selected problem. So, for example, I have a prior experience of seeing that when I have had too many plants in my area, in my society, in my balcony, okay, in my village, in my city, my life was very healthy. But after reduction of those things, my life got changed. Okay, so those prior experience also helps a lot. So that is how we will identify the source for hypothesis formulation. One more question based on sampling, and then we will start with the next topic. So identify the non-probability sampling methods in this. Non-probability sampling method. Perfect. So the answer is one, that is purposive sampling, which we also call as judgmental sampling. The quota sampling, that we also call as decision sampling. Okay, and the E1, that is snowball sampling. Okay, that we also call as network sampling, are the non-probability sampling method, whereas systematic sampling and stratified random sampling are probability methods of sampling. Now, we discussed about hypothesis. Okay, I also told you in the steps of research that we test the hypothesis. So when we test this hypothesis and we commit a mistake in testing the hypothesis, okay, so What about those mistakes? How is that been treated in our research? So the testing of a hypothesis, if it is done, and if it goes wrong, okay, we commit, not the testing goes wrong. If we as a researcher commits a mistake in testing the hypothesis, it is called as an error. And there are two types of error that can be committed while testing a hypothesis. So let us first read the basic definition and then move ahead. So empirical hypothesis testing is basically a statistical method that determines if data supports a hypothesis. It involves formulating two competing hypotheses, that is null hypothesis H0 and the alternative, that is HA or H1. In this process, the null hypothesis, as I told you, always has been tested. If the null hypothesis is found to be true, the alternative hypothesis is rejected and vice versa. Now, what is hypothesis testing error? So there is two error, type 1 and type 2. Type 1 error is also called as alpha error. Noted down. Type 1 error is also called as alpha error or also known as false positive. Okay. Type 1 error is known as alpha error or false positive, and type 2 error is known as beta error or false negative. Now, there is a line that I've skipped purposely because I want to first tell you in my own language and then look on that particular line. Type 1 error is a error which is considered as a big error, a very big error. Type 2 error is considered as a small error. So it's not something as it big and small, but type 2 error, if committed, is still to an extent acceptable, but type 1 error, if conducted, it is not acceptable because type 1 error says that if that error has been conducted, that means a wrong knowledge has been created and it has been spread. Okay, that is called as type 1 error. So type 1 error is considered as big because a wrong knowledge is created and spread. And a type 2 error is a error where the answer was right, but mistake, we had committed a mistake and told it as wrong. That is still okay. The answer was right, it is committed, and you have told it wrong. You can always go reverse it and bring the correct answer. Okay, because the answer was any which was right, we told it wrong. That is okay. Let's say I'll take an example. For example, I a student asks a query to the professor, and the professor says ki on some topic. Okay, the professor has no knowledge on that topic, and the professor says something randomly. Okay, and the students believe with that topic that they learn, all of them learn, and they write the same thing. So something that has been said by the professor was wrong. It's a big mistake because it was never as such. Okay, the professor did not knew, he or she did not studied, and he told a wrong answer which created a wrong information. Okay, let's say somebody asked to a professor that, ma'am, is Shiv Sena is a national party or not? So the professor says, yes, it is a national party, and it's a wrong information that has been created. Everyone believes that wrong information, and it goes that way. And type 2 error is where the same question has been asked, but the professor says, I'm not very sure about it. You can ask to some other professor. I am not maybe the right person to answer. You can ask. So here you knew the answer, but you were not able to recall or something, or you told ask to somebody else. Okay. So that error is okay because the person still has a chance to go and check and verify. So that is called as type 2 error, which is small. But type 1, you told a wrong information, that something which was not there, you told it is there, and you created a wrong information in the world. So that is called as type 1 error, which is big. It is also called as alpha or false positive. So first thing, that is false, and you have made it positive in that case. And type 2 is small, and it is called as beta error, and it is called as false negative. So it is false, and you said it, you don't know, so you made it in a negative way. That is false negative. Now, see, this was about the differentiation between type 1 and type 2 errors, unke alternate names and everything. Now, what exactly is type 1 error? So, whenever I test my hypothesis, okay, there is only two possibility of testing the null hypothesis. Either the hypothesis may get selected or it may get rejected. Okay. Only two possibilities whenever I test something. It might get reject or it might get select. So if a hypothesis is got rejected, okay, if a hypothesis is rejected, okay, then it is type 1 error. You just have to remember, see, all these things that I'm talking only in the terms of null hypothesis. I'm not talking with respect to alternate hypothesis because we test only null hypothesis. So I'm saying if a null hypothesis that is tested and it as it is written, if a null hypothesis is tested and is rejected, that is type 1 error. Okay. So type 1 error, that is alpha error, also known as false positive, occurs when a true null hypothesis is rejected. Ideally, we should have accepted it, but it was rejected. That is type 1 error, which is a big error. And type 2 error, where the null hypothesis is selected by mistakenly. It should have not been done. Okay. So where a null hypothesis is not rejected, basically I will say selected by mistakenly. Okay. You should have not selected it, but you selected it is called as type 2 error. They love asking questions from this type of error also. Okay. Uh, any doubt so far? Because it's an important topic and it has a little complications. If you have understood, please give a thumbs up. Okay. Moving ahead, there is this one question. So this is from 2023. When a researcher rejects another hypothesis in his or her study and accept alternate hypothesis. Okay. This another hypothesis is basically the null hypothesis. In his or her study and accept the alternate hypothesis, what type of error is this? See, just now I told you, just focus on null hypothesis, reject or select, forget about alternate hypothesis. So if a null hypothesis is rejected, so it's type 1 or type 2? Do you want me to go back to the slide? Perfect. It's type 1 error, okay, because the null hypothesis has been rejected. So type 1. If it was, it would have been selected, it would have been type 2 error. Then this is another question. In a research, the null hypothesis, when rejected, offers the scope for accepting the alternative or substantive research. Statement 1. Statement 2 says when a null hypothesis is rejected, there will be chance of committing beta rather than alpha error. It's an error question now, so they will not specify in that way. So let me decode it in a more simple language. So they are telling in a research, a null hypothesis when gets rejected. Okay, so it offers the scope for accepting the alternative hypothesis. Okay, so yes, whenever a null hypothesis is rejected, obviously we purposely want that null hypothesis get rejected, so our alternative hypothesis is selected. The second question says that when a null hypothesis is rejected, the chance of error that is committing is beta, that they are telling is type 2 error rather than alpha. So you tell me when null is rejected, it is beta or alpha?
Alpha.
Perfect. So it's alpha. So the thing is, the first sentence is correct, but the second statement is not correct. Okay. So the correct answer is 3. Previous question. Okay. This is the previous question. Just let me know when it is done. Okay, I will just make a quick explanation for you because I find some some people are still getting confused. So we can say in this way that type 1 is when null is get rejected, and we also called as at alpha. Okay, type 2 is been conducted when the null gets selected. Okay, null hypothesis gets selected, that we called as beta hypothesis. Okay, it's a big error, it's a small error. Please take a screenshot of this, it will be more simple. We will just focus on null hypothesis. Okay, that is I hope this is easy for everyone to remember. Okay, so this was about sampling, hypothesis, the steps of research. Now, moving to the next part, actually, one of the step of research, that is thesis or article writing. Just my PPT has got stuck. Just a minute. So thesis and article writing, these are the 12 steps of thesis and article writing. Uh, this steps goes as it is, and there is no change for any time. Like if you even write a research paper, okay, a small research paper or proposal, you will have to mention most of this thing apart from one or two thing, that is a certificate of originality and other things. Apart from that, most of the things will be there in your research papers also if you are ever writing a paper. Okay, so I will just open a detailed explanation of these steps. Just give me a minute. Okay, so our research format that we have, the first thing is always the page title. Okay, so the title of the page that you will have, then you will have the name of the researcher, title of the research project, then the name of the researcher, then what is the purpose of the research project. Okay, why do you want to do the research or whatever it is there. So most of the times, like we are doing for a PhD or for some degree requirements, that thing that will be mentioning. The second thing that is very important is the table of content. Okay, without index, no research, no paper, no nothing, whatever you write, even your project that you write, anything is not complete if we do not have the index, that is the table of content. So, for example, they have given the first content introduction, chapter one, then what it is about, theoretical framework and review of related literature, and so on. Then chapter 2 is research design, chapter 3 analysis interpretation, the whole of those things, and then references, appendix, and further things. Then the list of tables. So whenever we do a research, we use a lot of chart, diagrams, figures. So all those tables are there in which particular page number, and also basically when we do our complete research, for PhD it goes for like hundreds of pages, so it becomes very difficult for Viva. So that time it is there, the list of table, the title, and which page number, which table is there. So for example, all of a sudden, out of all those 300, 400 pages, I just want to talk about age distribution of respondents. I will directly go to that particular table. Then the list of the figures that we have, the pie chart, the diagram, or whatever it is there, that list. So once we start with the index, okay, so the table of content, how I have divided the chapter, then the table, a list of tables, then the list of figures or anything else. If I have images or something, then I will have list for the same thing. Then I have an acknowledgement where in this acknowledgement, the researcher acknowledge all the people who have guided or given support or directly or indirectly through any person, he or she was able to gain the knowledge and has contributed to their research. So we thank them, we give an acknowledgement, we especially give our acknowledgement to our guides and everybody, okay, who have guided us, the participants, the research participants, the friends, everybody has been given acknowledgement. Then comes the introduction. So basically, what is this research about? We'll be talking about that introduction in this um, area. Then it will have a theoretical review of literature. After introduction comes most important thing is doing review of literature. Whatever other papers, literatures, uh, thesis or whatever articles, whatever you might have studied, you will have to quote those thing, and what were the things that you have taken forward from them, that things you will have to write. Now how do we write that? That also has a format, and that we will be discussing today. And it is also important to mention the review of literature, because if you are reading to somebody's paper and not mentioning about them, you're taking information and writing, so it will turn into plagiarism, okay. And it will be, plagiarism is basically something, when we say we are taking somebody's content and not giving them due credit, okay, so it is like copy pasting and not giving them due credit. It also has certain guidelines how much percentage of plagiarism you can do. So when we do our research work, it should technically for us as a student or a professor, it should not go beyond 10%. Okay, then it will talk about the research design. What are designs that are being used, procedure, data collection, techniques, and all those things that has been mentioned here. Then data analysis. This is all about analysis and all. So how analysis has been done, interpretation, what tools are being used for analyzing or interpreting. Okay, graphs, charts, or whatever it is there. Then summary and conclusion, whatever generalized outcome that has been come. Then, as I told you, writing recommendation is very important. That what do you recommend? What are the your conclusions, findings out of it? And then what are these suggestions for further research? Every whatever I do, I told you, no, there will be always a scope for improvement in any work that we do. So the list for further referencing, and then comes the list of reference and bibliography. This we need to give, otherwise it comes under plagiarism. Okay, so again this has a method, and again from there a lot of question has been asked. Okay, so when I talk about list of references or bibliography, it has a book's author name, okay, in a particular manner that I will be taking in some time, followed okay, so here it is just that thing. I will come to this in a meanwhile. Okay, after this referencing, okay, last part comes as a certificate, okay, that has been given to you, and it has been signed by all the principal coordinator and the guide and everybody. Uh, Now let us go to the referencing. Okay, so these are the parts of the research writing, as I told you: title, cover, certificate of originality, okay, acknowledgement, abstract, introduction, scope, limitation. Literature review should ideally come post this thing, okay, that is acknowledgement and everything. But in one of the books, it was given as in the later stages. Then comes research, design, analysis, interpretation, conclusion. This should come later, and then reference, bibliography, and then your final thing. Now, coming to referencing. Referencing are of various type, but a couple of referencing is widely used A couple of referencing that is widely used by almost all the papers is APA and MLA style of referencing, mostly in social science and humanities, and even in science, this kind of referencing are being used. Okay, so these are two different citation style, primarily differing in their intended fields and use of formatting rules. So APA is American Psychologist Association, which is mostly used in social science and like psychology, sociology, education, and it emphasizes the publication date. Okay, that is the most important thing that it is focusing on. Whereas MLA, that is Modern Language Association, it is used in humanities like literature, arts, and all other things, and it focuses on author and page numbers. This is their difference. Okay, so the key difference is in the style of writing their names also that I've covered in the next slides. So here you can see this is very important. They directly ask you questions on this referencing, and they ask you to solve this referencing, like how do you write. So in a referencing, when I write in APA style, first I write the author's name, and the way of writing it is always the surname first and then the initial, first name's initial in APA style, for example. And purposely, one of the reason for choosing this way of writing the first name initial was like one of my professor told me, in those days in America when this system started, even females used to write, but they didn't wanted it to be known to the most of the people, so they used choosing the first name initial only, so that nobody comes to know it was written by a female or a male. So let's say my name is Nilima Gupta, so I will write it Gupta, comma N dot, like this way. Okay, so I will not write my name, it's always the surname that has been given the credit. Then comes the publication. Then comes the publication year. That is, let's say here it is written 2019. Then comes a full stop. You can see those full stops, right? So those full stops are very necessary. You will have to write in the same way. Then comes your article title. Okay, that is exploring. Here it is exploring the effects of mindful meditation on stress reduction. Full stop. Then comes the journal name, whatever journal, in whichever journal it has been published, whatever volume it was been there, for example volume 3 subpart 2 or whatever it is there. Then the page range, from which page to which page it was been, your article has been published. So in that whole journal, your article is of 10 pages, let's say, so from page number 110 to 120. And then DOI is a topic, this question has been asked many a times. What is DOI? So DOI is digital objective identifier. Many times UGC has asked this question, DOI, that is digital object identifier, and it is related with research. Okay. So then if your reference has DOI, then you will write about DOI. Or uh, if you have it on a web page, not on a, let's say, on a website, rather than having it on a journal, so you will have the URL. Okay. So below you can see the sample of the same. Then the referencing page is given 123 to 145. Then the DOI number, and then comes the URL if it is there. Nowadays, while doing research, you have websites, APA generator sites. You just put the link, you will get it generated in this format. So that is not a difficult task. But for your examination, you should know this format. Okay. Now MLA has author. Okay. Now here if you can see Smith John. Okay. So the full name it has been written. Okay, not just the initial. The major difference is in APA the initial has been written only the J. In MLA it is written as Smith John. Then the title of the article. Here we had the publication year first. Here the publication year is later. So in MLA is the title, just after the name is the title of the article, then the title of the journal. Then again volume and everything. So the year publication year has been cancelled and it has been written here as a publication year. And then the page range, okay. Then DOI, that is digital objective identifier, or the URL, whatever it is there. So as I've written here, author name is written as a last name and then first name. Smith John, Smith J or Smith John. Clear so far? Any doubt? Okay. Take the screenshot of the same. You will require it while before your exams. Now moving forward. Okay. So as I told you, APA American Psychological Association for Social Science focus publication date is more important, as I told you. Okay, for comparing research in text citation, last author name and year. Okay, the year from the previous example, if you can see, there were two authors, Smith J and Johnson. Okay, so here also it is in the same way. Basically, you take it as Smith J. It becomes easy for you. Author's last name and year. Author format, last name and then initial. Title capitalization. Sentence case for titles. A brief history of like whatever humankind. So-called reference. Page title. Whatever required and usually used in social science and psychology, business education. Likewise, MLA for humanities literature. Focus is author. Okay. Rather than publication here, the focus is author himself, and most of the things are more or less the same. And as I told, we discussed literature, language, and humanities. These are some key difference that you can see. Social science used in humanities, the title is in italic only. The most necessary words are put in capital letters. The title here in MLA is always underlined and all major words are capitalized, if you can see. Okay. Here they have not done it. Okay. Janit, I will give you another example where they have done it in an italic manner. So the source page is titled as reference or reference link. Here the source page is titled as work cited. Very important. Uh, MLA we use for referencing. Sorry, APA we use for referencing, and MLA is used for work cited. And there is this one more category. This was also a question once upon a time. Okay, APA. You can just note it. MLA is used for work cited. It has minute difference, but this is one of the major difference that you will ever find. That when you have to do referencing, you use MLA, and when you have to do write as work cited, you will use sorry, referencing, you will use APA, MLA for works cited, and Chicago for bibliography. So if you have seen, somewhere it is written as referencing, somewhere it is written as bibliography. So it has minute difference in all of them. And these three are the most important one. Okay. Then here in APA, only the last name of author is used. Here the full name is used. Author name and year is used in text. Here the author name and page numbers. Commas are used for in-text citation, but in MLA there are no commas that are used. Okay. If you have taken a screenshot, let me know. We'll move forward. Okay. Okay. Now, apart from this, we have certain abbreviations. This is also something that they have asked in examinations prior. Now, this abbreviation that you see, a prior abbreviation. Okay. This is an abbreviation which means reasoning. Okay, and it's an approach to accept knowledge based on certain pre-existing assumption or something. So, for example, in the research, if I say that it is, for example, it is very cold outside, so you must be feeling very cold since you just came from out. So this is something that everybody will accept. Okay, so it's a prior reasoning in my research which nobody will question. So I want to quote something as this is a generalized reasoning. So I will use this abbreviation. Then another abbreviation that I have is CF, that is a Latin. All of these are Latin word, all of them. It's an abbreviation for the Latin word which means confer. Okay, that means to compare, and it is used mostly in footnotes to direct readers to the other works of comparison on the current text. So, for example, somebody else has also conducted certain text, okay, certain research. So, I will direct that there is a comparison between this and that research. So, please refer this as a comparison. Then another referencing that you find, that is sorry, abbreviation that you find, that is a subtext which has an underlying meaning of a text and it is not explicitly stated. That means it is not the main text, it is the subtext of something. So I'm just not giving a proper more description on it for any reference that I've taken. It's a subtext of certain text, so I will just mention that I have given reference for this part of my paper in this thing. It is just a subtext of it, so I'm not writing all of those things again. Then ETAL means others. So for example, a research has been conducted by Nilima Gupta and 10 others. So I will not write all those 10 researchers name again and again. So what I will do is I will just write Nilima Gupta ETAL, that means all 10 people who are there, everybody I'm giving the due credit. Then I have FN, which means the footnote. Okay, so that you can go and check it just in the last uh, end of the page. Okay, that is footnote. So in the between of my paper, if I have quoted something, I will just write FN. Then IDIB. Okay, this is shorthand to acknowledge a specific source that has already been cited. For example, I have cited a research paper 7 to 10 times in my uh, paper. Okay, so again and again, I will not be giving references. First time, I will be giving reference in detail. Okay, in a complete that APA manner and everything. And then what I will be doing every time, I will be just writing ABID here, ABID there, ABID there. So again and again, I don't have time to write and do all of those things, because imagine writing for 300, 400 pages and again giving it becomes very difficult. Then we have ANTE. Again, this is a Latin word which means refers to a source cited earlier in the same work, often used when repeated references are being used. It is also more or less the same. Okay, where same person has been used again and again for the reference we use him. Then VIDE, that is width or wide, whatever you say, that means see or refer to, directing the reader to a particular source. Okay, for the information. These are the common abbreviations which are mostly used. So we are telling from this particular abbreviation that please go and refer to a particular source. Like let's say, please go and refer to page number 10, subpart 20 table or whatever it is there. Okay, so these are certain most important abbreviations that they might ask you in your examination. Moving forward, just some last topic that is there, hardly couple of more slides. Okay. Uh, uh, there are two questions. This is from 2024. Identify the correct order of the following information about a research article according to APA style of writing journal article reference. No, Kavya, please pay attention. See, we are talking about APA referencing style. Just now we did na. APA referencing style focuses on the year of publication. Okay. And MLA focus on basically the author name, but APA focuses on year of publication. Sorry. Otherwise, everything is right. So the only option that starts with year of publication is the second one. Okay, and then it gives you the whole sequence, that is year of publication, then the title of journal, name of the journal, and then the volume number, and then finally the DOI. If you would have taken from DOI, then also you would have been nearby. Then another question that is there again from 2024. Identify the correct order of following the information regarding a research paper in APA style of research writing. See, more or less they ask you this the order only from this topic, and mostly they ask APA rather than MLA. Most of the time it has been observed that APA is one of them because it is widely used. They ask it. So whatever options here it is given, according to that, first we will have the last name of the author, okay, and then after the last name of the author, other it will follow. Correct? Perfect. So the third option is correct. That is the last name of the author. Then comes the title of the article, name of the article, and finally the page number. So as I told you, if you see PYQ papers, there is always two answers out of which you will have to find the correct answer. Two answers are straight away wrong answers. So your fight is only between 50-50, two answers. That's it. The last topic that we have today is plagiarism. Okay. So as I told you, plagiarism is an act of copying somebody's work without giving them due credit. And to give them due credit, we have referencing, we have APA style, we have MLA and Chicago styles. Okay. Because we want to give them credit and do not face any kind of penalties or be guilty of copying their resources, okay, or their work. So we better give them credit and make sure your research paper should have only 10%, not more than that. So plagiarism is categorized into three levels, ranging from 0 to 3, with penalties increasing with each level, often based on the percentage of the similarities that is found in a work. Penalties can include being required to resubmit work, suspension of further submission, cancellation of registration, um, and for faculty, it also leads to loss of increments, okay, demotion from supervisory roles, and so on and so forth. Now, see, this is the level, if you can see, for students also and for academics also, that is for faculties also. So level 0 is up to 10%, which is allowed even for students submitting thesis, dissertation, or academicians also. Okay, no penalty or minor similarities, often request to revise. That's it. Uh, from level 1, that is 10 to 40%, the student will be asked to resubmit the revised script, mostly during your masters when you submit your dissertation thesis. That time we all might have done this. Okay. So if there was plagiarism too much, we would have been asked by our professors to resubmit. But if the faculty does the same thing, okay, a professor withdraw manuscript and be banned from publishing for minimum 1 year. Okay, so for 1 year, the faculty cannot publish any articles or research paper because it comes in level 1. Okay, so it is also considered that it might be by mistake, but see the range 10 से थोड़ा ऊपर आएगा तो ठीक है, but if it goes 30-40, it is too much. So it is almost nearly reaching to the half percentage. Then level 2, 40 to 60, a student will be debarred for submitting the revised script for 1 year. That means in their masters they will have to almost take a drop. And then if the same goes for faculties, withdrawal of manuscripts, banned for publishing 1 year, denial of 1 year annual increment, and barred from supervising for 2 years, because once you have been reached at that position, you can also supervise and guide others. So because you the professor, that person committed mistake, he will be or she will be barred for supervising for next 2 years. Level 3, it's the highest, that is above 60%. For students, registration program only itself will be cancelled. And for faculties, again the same thing, manuscript withdrawing, banned for publishing for 3 years, denied any increment for next 2 years, and for supervising for the next 3 years. Okay, so these are the replications if we do not give proper citation. So it turns into plagiarism, and when it turns into plagiarism, it costs a person very badly. So that is why it is very important to give proper citation and follow all the steps of research uh, with the due process. Uh, this is also the same thing. So now let's go back to the first topic that we did. Okay, so this is what we just talked about. In this, we today did in detail about the sampling, probability, non-probability. We did hypothesis, year formulation hypothesis, hypothesis testing. Okay, the errors in hypothesis testing, and then we did how do we write a report, thesis and article writing, the title, page, content, and everything. And then we did about bibliography, referencing, and everything. So the three steps that are very important in this, that is hypothesis, sampling, and report writing, and especially referencing when I talk about report writing. Apart from that, data analysis collection tools are also important. So everything, if you see, from identifying the problem, review of literature, every step they have some or the other question to be asked. So overall, this whole topic is itself very vast and in detail, where everything they ask in detail, all of them in them also have a very vast explanation. So this was all with regards to our day 2. Any doubt so far anybody has? Please feel free to ask any of the doubt that you have. So we did this research meaning, types, characteristics, positivism, post-positivism, various methods and types of research, sampling, steps of research, thesis, article writing in detail, hypothesis and types of error also in hypothesis, which are part of it. Okay. Now tomorrow, the format and the style of referencing, I took it today itself. Tomorrow we will be doing application of ICT in research and research ethics, because it is a little ICT in research will go little in detail. So format and style of referencing, I have taken it today itself. Okay, and we will have more questions tomorrow. Okay, we will also have questions tomorrow, which will be from all the 3 days learning that we will be having. So for all the 3 days learning, we will have certain questions included. So it will be more like a testing tomorrow, because we have studied every day and immediately solved a question. So the possibility of committing an error while answering was less. But after 2 days, let's see how far we will be able to do that. And I will try to include more questions, like how today we included about questionnaire and other topics, so that we can go more in detail and explore any topic that is, is somehow connected, but not done here, but it's a part that should be done. Okay. Okay. Example for type 1, type 2 error. Namita, we can take an example like, let's say there is a medicine. Okay. And I say eating that medicines will help you for your weight loss. Okay. This is my alternate hypothesis. I make a null hypothesis that eating that medicine will not help you for your weight loss. I have made this null hypothesis. Now, in this null hypothesis, my null hypothesis was eating that medicine was not making any weight loss. But it got rejected, and the eating those medicines actually helped in doing weight loss. So it was a uh, type 2 error because I said it is no, but it got selected and it helped out. So it is a minor error, it's a small error because it is helping out, and it did not did a damage or it did not created a false information. The error whichever was done, it can go, I can go back and rectify. Okay, this was type 2 error. But if I told eating that medicine, okay, uh, is help eating that medicine, instead of this, if I would have told that eating that medicines will is giving you XYZ person a new kind of disease, that is type 1 error. Okay, where that medicine is not giving any new disease, but still you claim that medicine is giving that disease. That is type 1 error because you're creating a false information, a false positive. That if you eat this medicine now, you will get a this disease, which is not true. So, and it is creating a false information, it's spreading wrong information, and the purpose of our research is not to spread any kind of wrong information. So that is a type 1 error, but type 2 error is it the medicine actually helped for weight loss, but mistakenly I told that it is not helping for a weight loss. I hope it has helped you to clarify. Don't worry, they will not ask in detail like what is the situations and is it this type 1, type 2. They will just ask questions based on if rejected, null hypothesis, it's type 1, and if selected, it is type 2. That is the main question that they ask. Any doubt anybody has?
Ma'am, can you explain in brief what is synopsis? How can we write synopsis?
Yes. Synopsis is basically a summary of everything. Okay, a brief overview that we have. Okay, in your paper, your syllabus does not talks about synopsis at all, and there is hardly any questions that is been asked ever. So not necessarily that we will have to study in detail, but it is a detailed overview plan which gives a summary of, let's say, a research that is there, or uh, how will you conduct that research. It's a another name for a synopsis will be a research proposal. Okay, which is a small subpart of the whole big research that you will be conducting. Okay, so a research maybe, let's say, goes for 300 pages, but a synopsis will be 10% of it. Okay, so it gives the outline of the objective methodology that you will be using, a roadmap uh, on which you will be conducting your real larger final research. Okay, it gives the statement of problem, similar way the aims, objective, literature review is also done for that synopsis also. Methodology is also been given. So whenever you go for your interview, for taking admission for PhD, you will have to submit a research proposal. If your proposal is get you have interviews, your proposal has been discussed. If that has been accepted, then you are selected for that PhD. And then once you're selected, you will have to submit a synopsis. Okay, once you're selected, your admission has been done. Then you will submit a synopsis with regards to what you will be doing in next 3 years and how you will be conducting your real project. A small sample of it. I will say a research proposal might be for 20 pages, let's say 20-30 pages, between 10 to 30 pages. A research proposal may go at least 40-50 pages, and your final research goes near about 400 pages. So it's a small, I will say, summary of your big research. Okay. Any doubt anyone else has? Okay. Dhara ma'am, so I think it's done for the today.